Ever felt like your children's behavior is a direct reflection of you? It's like every tantrum, every bad grade, every poor decision means you are failing as a mom. We're going to unpack today why that isn't true. And we're going to talk about what you can do instead of believing the lie that when your children mess up, that means you're a bad mom. Don't worry, you are not alone. Like a lot of moms feel this way. I certainly have. So let's get down to the whys first of all. Why do we feel this way? Why do we feel that when our kids are throwing fits or getting bad grades or being rude to another individual, why do we feel like, oh my gosh, that's on me? It's fascinating to think about, don't you think? I think that we all have this pressure inside of us that maybe comes from societal pressure that says, look, if your child is misbehaving, you haven't taught your child properly. Ever felt that way? Answer this. Have you ever been in like a store shopping and you see another mom with her kids? And maybe this mom has a child who's literally on the floor screaming and throwing a fit, or holding on to this mom's leg and she's basically dragging him around the store. Or maybe this mom has a teenager who's mocking her and teasing a younger brother or sister. What is your immediate reaction to that? Is it compassion? Compassion for these children who obviously are somewhat miserable in some way, right? Maybe they've been out shopping all day. Maybe they're hungry. Maybe they're tired. Maybe they're just misbehaving, which we all do, right? Do you have compassion for the mom? Or are you like, wow, that lady needs to control her kids. She does not know what she's doing. It's so easy to jump to judgment. And because we would do that to someone else, we feel that that's for sure what everybody else is doing with us. They're judging us based on our children's behavior. And that is an unfair and inaccurate judgment, right? Another problem is the internal narratives that we have going on, right? Like if our child is acting up in the store, or our 16-year-old comes home and has some F's on the report card, or some teachers are reaching out with a problem, immediately our brain likes to freak out and be like, uh-oh, you know what that means? That means I'm a bad mom. Like we actually make our kids' failures or mistakes mean that we are a bad mom. That's the narrative going on in our brain. Like we choose to believe it's the immediate thing. We're just like, oh great, this means I'm a bad mom. And yet we're going to talk in just a minute. We're going to unpack why that is absolutely not true. But it's such a temptation to like just tell this story and embellish it and be like, that is what I'm making them mean. And it's not a good thing, right? Catch yourself doing that. Another thing is that we have this social media comparison trap. It's talked about all the time, but it is a very real thing. Like I get on social media and it looks like all of these incredible families are practically perfect, right? And we know this. We know in our minds that that's not true, but the evidence that we see on the screen is so blindingly loud and big that we tend to get sucked into that belief that everybody else is doing right. Their kids certainly aren't coming home with F's. Look, their kids are going to Harvard. Their kids are on every athletic team there is and excel in music, and like their kids are doing it all. My kid isn't. They must have a really good mom and I must be a bad mom, right? We do that. We see what things around and we compare. And that is a really dangerous thing to do. I think lastly, and I don't know if this is the same for everybody, but for me, when I was a young child, it felt like performance in something, excelling in something equated with my worth. Are you with me on that? And I think sometimes we give our kids that indication, not because we want to, but because that's kind of how we grew up. And we just haven't noticed or taken the time and effort to be like, whoa, hold up there. I'm going to challenge that a little bit. My child's worth has nothing to do with what they achieve, right? That child's worth and my worth, it's just 100% all the time. Like nothing can take away from that. So it's fun when they achieve, right? It's fun. It's usually a growing opportunity. They're learning about their skills and talents. That's amazing. but it has nothing to do with anybody's worth, their worth or your worth. And we have to be a little bit careful, because this goes both ways. Like, if your child is incredible, right? Maybe they are the student athlete and the prom queen and the whatever it might be. It's easy to think that you are the reason. Well, I'm such a good mom, look at my kid. That also isn't true, right? So be aware of that, because it can lead to judging other people, and it can lead to you almost having this expectation of yourself that is hard to maintain, because your next child might not excel like that. And it's not because anything's wrong with that child. It's just different child, different experiences. So we have to really be careful of not equating our worth with what our children do. And it takes conscious effort. You have to recognize when it's going on and call it out and be willing to question yourself. The truth is that children are individuals. That's the truth. The truth is that they are going to make choices. You can control what you teach them. You can control how you communicate with them. You can control how you choose to discipline them, or the home environment. There's a lot of things you can control. I recently heard that's called like the input. We can control the input when our kids are around, not when they're far away. But what they choose to do with that input, the output that actually comes, that's on them. That is their choice. And so it is a great thing, I think, to input our kids with all the things that we think are for their benefit, right? That's a good effort. But the truth is that does not mean that they will always, the output that they exhibit will always match the input that they received. Also, goodness sakes, mistakes are normal. They're healthy. They're necessary. They're necessary for growth. So when your kids are making mistakes, really be careful of the thoughts that you're allowing. There's nothing wrong with your child, and there's nothing wrong with you. Children are human beings. They're having a human experience. The way for them to learn is by trying things, realizing that didn't work. That was a mistake. That I don't want to repeat that again. That's what it's all about. So that's really important to remember, that their mistakes are actually really essential to their development. And just remember, like, it's not your job to control everyone, even your kids. And I know that can seem a little bit scary, because you're like, no, but I know better. I have life experience that I can make a better decision than they will. And that could be true, that you would make a better experience, choice, according to you, than they would. But the thing is that that's not your job. And when you try to control them, you're actually not giving them the opportunity to develop these muscles of making choices and learning from them. So it's really important to remember that, like, it's not my job, actually. I'm controlling what the input is as much as I can in my sphere of influence here when they're around me. But then they have to choose. All right. So let's talk about what we can do instead of just allowing our brains to tell us all kinds of things about how we're a bad mom when our kids have bad behavior. I think perhaps the first one is to recognize. It's always to recognize when it's going on. And so you have to kind of be aware of that. When you hear that little voice being like, you must be a bad mom. Oh my gosh, your kids are doing that. That's terrible. Why didn't you teach them that? Blah, 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 blah. So recognize it. But the next thing is you have to separate the behavior of your child from the actual child and from yourself. You are not your child's behaviors. Your child is not his behaviors, right? Your child is a human being who's making choices and sometimes making mistakes and sometimes behaving against the values that he or she has been taught, just like you do. None of us are perfect. I have really strong values and a really strong foundation of this person I want to be. And I just do stupid things sometimes because I'm human. I act against my values rather than according to my values. And we all do. Nothing has gone wrong, right? Your child is learning, you're supporting, you're not failing. I think the other one is to practice self-compassion. We are really good as women, and especially moms, I think, of beating ourselves up. We have expectations of ourselves we would never put on anybody else, right? And that compassion is so important because probably other people aren't going to offer that to you. And really, it's not their job, it's your job. So remember that the struggle that you're experiencing or that your child is experiencing, it's normal. It's very normal. And normalizing it is a way that you offer yourself compassion. You're like, yeah, this is normal. This isn't that I'm doing something wrong. I think one is so vital, and I'm sure that you have used this before, but these mistakes, if we can reframe them, if we can help our children reframe the mistakes as teaching moments, it's like, wow, that mistake actually wasn't a mistake anymore. We actually just made it a really big step. And that's the opportunity that we have. So instead of seeing every mistake or wrongdoing, or, if your child comes home and has failed a class and you'll be like, oh, blew that, maybe not. Maybe this is the opportunity for your child to really learn some study skills, or maybe it's the chance for you to be like, hey, what's really going on here? This isn't like you. How can we support you? And it just gives your child this opportunity to A, feel loved and supported by you, and B, figure out himself what is going on and what he wants to do about it. That is going to propel him forward for the rest of his life. But you also do have to create an emotional boundary with yourself. And that means that you commit to yourself that you are not going to make your mistakes or your kids' mistakes mean something bad about you, right? That's an emotional boundary that you set. You're like, nope, not doing that. I feel that coming on. I am not going to do that. I'm not going to attach my worth to my child's behaviors. The idea is that you celebrate progress yourself and progress for your kids, even small wins. Just, celebrate those little things, because those little things are actually the building blocks of an entire lifetime, an entire idea of identity and self-worth. I just hope that this has been useful to you. If it has, will you please do something for me and for yourself? Actually, do it for you. Don't do it for me. You might not even know me, and it's not about me. Like this and subscribe to my channel, because every week I'm going to come out with interviews of moms or parenting tools that are extremely useful, or all the things that you can check in and be like, I needed that today. I needed that reminder today. So please like and subscribe, and share this with a mom that you think might need this message, right? Might be beating herself up for the things that are not going well in her life. Also, if you want a little more support, I have a masterclass coming up at the end of the month. It's only $37. It's going to teach how you can actually get more time in your life, how the busyness can stop. You can stop feeling overloaded, overwhelmed, over busy, over scheduled. You do not want to miss it. Don't say you don't have time, because that's the whole purpose of coming to the class, is that you will get more time. Okay, thanks for watching. See you next time.